Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like the cat with the laser pointer. It's like you've led the cat up to the top of the building, and now you're leading it over the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like overcapitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well organized and well funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome. Daily joined this morning by Ashe F. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the music is way loud over your voice, though. So.
Oh, well, there we go. I'll get closer.
Wearing my Colorado Avalanche hat because Colorado Avalanche 19-1. I don't know if you saw that, but we're 19-1. No big deal.
Shut up. My Panthers are plagued by injuries right now. We're missing Kachuk. We're missing Barkov. Kulikov was out for a while. We're getting decimated right now. We're like middle of the pack right now for back-to-back Stanley Cup champs, hoping to go for the three-peat.
You have a rebuilding year. It's all right for you. But did you hear that the Colorado Avalanche are 19-1? Matt and Caleb went to the game last night, and it was Grateful Dead night, which is pretty cool. They got Grateful Dead jerseys, they give away to the first however many people or whatever. And these hats, which is, got one of these hats. And I sent you a video last night. I don't know if you saw it of, I forget what song they were playing, but they're playing Grateful Dead music while the teams were warming up and stuff, which was kind of fun.
I did see that. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on 19-1. Rub it in a little more. All right, guys.
We'll get there a little later in the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show. We're going to jump into it. Before we do that, let's talk about some of our fine sponsors here at Badlands Media. All right, guys, you can thank me for this one later. I just did all your holiday shopping for you in one simple click. Forget the panic shopping. Everything you need is at Chefman. You can make that perfect list, and with promo code Badlands, you'll save 30% on everything. They've got the indoor pizza oven. Forget about delivery with one-touch presets. You'll get authentic restaurant-quality pizza in just minutes. Crispy crust, gooey cheese every single time. Perfect for family nights or game day gatherings. There's also the Obliterator blender. It's not just powerful, it's also smart. You toss in fruits, veggies, ice, even some nuts, and it will crush everything. Auto blend technologies. You should never put those things together.
Which things together?
Crushing nuts.
Oh.
Yeah, don't put that in the same sentence when you have a guy doing the read.
Especially with auto blend right after it.
Me and Ash both love the Obliterator. It is like blending Fantastic. Has become a pastime for us now. Yeah. So you just put the ingredients in. It will automatically adjust the speeds for your silky smoothies, creamy shakes, and even hot soups. No guesswork, just perfection. I vouch for that product 1000%. It is amazing. And for some extra holiday fun, you got the slushy maker. Turn any party into a hit. Kids love the colorful slushies. Adults love the frozen cocktails. Easy to use, easy to clean. Make it your new holiday tradition. And my all-time favorite is the new ice cream maker. It's not just ice cream. It's ice cream, frozen yogurt, sorbet, sherbet, Italian ice, all from your own kitchen. Customize flavors, control the ingredients, and serve up happiness in just minutes. Everyone will ask for seconds. Why settle for ordinary when you can make extraordinary? Bring home the fun, the flavor, and the memories. Visit chefman.com and make this holiday unforgettable. Hop on over to chefman.com and check everyone off your list. Save 30% and watch them unwrap gifts that they will actually use. Chefman.com/Badlands and use promo code Badlands. And I love their products.
I do too. The last time I read that ad, though, I was like, oh my gosh, 30% off everything. And then went into a long rant about Ice Daddy. And then Jessica's like screaming in the background, no, it's only on, I forget which one it was. It was like only on the blender. So I was saying the wrong thing. But that image looks like Ice Daddy is in there.
No. You're getting it wrong. It was the Chef IQ. You had mentioned Chef IQ, and that's not Chefman.
No, I think it was a Chef IQ ad, and I mentioned Ice Daddy because my rant was definitely about Ice Daddy. Yeah,
that's what it is.
So
but
my
either
bad.
way, all of our sponsors are great.
Yeah.
So check
all of our
out.
sponsors are amazing, and 30% off Ice Daddy is something that you definitely want to take advantage of.
All right, you want to talk about our fine friends over at Tamarac Garden?
Try and stop me. Are you looking for a better alternative to over-the-counter drugstore medications? Tamarac Garden began from a parent's desperate need for safe and effective options for their kids. They were tired of toxic chemicals, so they took matters into their own hands and began crafting medicine from weeds, wildflowers, and herbs, the original time-tested healers that modern medicine can't match. Packed with antiviral herbs to boost immunity and fight illness, Tamarac Garden has, for a limited time, their elderberry and rose hips syrup kit available. Not only is it delicious, and it also makes a great mixer, which is like you're, taking your medicine while having a cocktail, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But not only is it delicious, no more battles with kids to take it, and it's easy to make, but it'll keep you and your family healthy all fall and winter. Introducing Tamarac Garden's new baby line, clean, non-toxic, and gentle for newborns and moms, relieving cradle cap, diaper rash, stretch marks, and postpartum pain. Visit tamaracgarden.com today and use promo code Badlands for $10 off orders over $50. Remember to eat your weeds. tamaracgarden.com, promo code Badlands. And I am a Tamarac Garden super fan as well.
Yeah, Christy made
so many of her products.
Christy made the elderberry syrup just before Thanksgiving, and it does go great in cocktails. That's
that tip comes directly from Michelle, by the way, of Tamarac Garden. She's the one who told me to use it as a mixer. The Mullen Lung Love line. So you have this tincture for it, but there's also a tea. She's got kidney support, liver support, immune support tincture. She has wrinkle serums, and for women, kind of running the gamut of the different seasons of a woman's life. She's got products for you, and it's all natural. I was talking to Annie when I was out at Soft Disclosure at Willow and Farm for Thanksgiving, and she was talking about like the weed service in the valley that comes through and like kills all the weeds. And I was sitting there thinking, oh, I bet Michelle, Michelle would be like wailing about it. Mullen is an incredibly powerful, herb weed supplement. It has incredible health benefits, and the majority of people are just spraying freaking Roundup on it, which is crazy. So tamaracgarden.com.
All right, guys, let's jump into the news. First story, let's start off with a story that is, I don't know what they're going to do with this. GOP's Matt Van Epps wins Tennessee special election for House seat, dashing Democrat upset hopes, but don't be so quick with this one. Republican Matt Van Epps has won the special congressional election in Tennessee Tuesday over Democrat Afton Bain. Sounds like a Batman villain in Tennessee for a vacant House seat. Van Epps has 53.9% of the vote, and Ben has 45%. Following last month's off-year elections in which Democrats did well in New York, Virginia, New Jersey, and Georgia, this was the next big race. It is a district that Donald Trump won in 2024 by over 20 points. So it looks like Van Epps is going to win by about 9. So if Trump won by 20, Van Epps won by 9, the Democrats are actually going to use this as a victory and going into their election narrative that Democrats are totally the ones that are getting all the momentum right now because nobody wants immigrants being removed from their country, illegal immigrants in mass. I don't know, man. You're just going to
that's nonsense, because I definitely want all of the illegal criminal invaders removed from my country. Toot sweet. So, and I think that there's a lot of people like me that want this to happen. This is what we voted for. Listen, we haven't solved elections. We haven't made, there's a story that's been going around Dallas, down in Dallas County, I think it is, that they're going to be doing hand counting, which is, fantastic. But it's one county out of, whatever it is, 3,100 counties or county equivalents across the nation. And we have a landscape that's rife for fraud. We have fake voters, fake ballots, fake counts. So discussing the margin of a special election that happened in Tennessee is, if that's what they've got for a victory lap at this point, I mean, let them have it. We're in the middle of a transformation program. And, a lot of people aren't going to like that. That's usually the case when you're in the middle of a transformation program, is a lot of the people that are in the process of transforming don't like it. Suck it up.
Yeah. It's just that I mean, we know elections haven't been fixed, but that's something that they will use to justify, the unfixed elections going their way in a year if we don't get on top of it. And of course, tune into Why We Vote as Ash and I continue to work on exposing that. You did bring
and
up-
we should have Patrick Byrne on Why We Vote this week. He has agreed to come on, said the time worked for him and everything. So I'm like hesitant to promote it too much. I keep trying, not wanting to promote it too much just in case it doesn't happen, because then I feel like an asshole to the audience, but it looks like it's going to happen. And that's the plan. And we should be talking through, the story of at least the election technology. It seems to be where that story is kind of centered, is on machines and election technology. But we still have the voters and the ballot problems and all sorts of things. So definitely tune into Why We Vote. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. DallasGOP.com.org/hand count. We had Stan Woodward on Thanksgiving on Daily for about 10 minutes or so to talk about this. If they need volunteers, they need volunteers to do the hand count out there. So it is for the primary election, which are some of the most important elections, especially if you're in a county that's particular, or a district that's particularly dominated by one particular party. The primary is the way that you can ensure you get somebody that is actually, favorable to the constituents, and rather than some establishment shill. So if you're in Dallas County, jump on over to DallasGOP.org/hand count and sign up to volunteer. We got this, and we got to, we've been yearning for this for so long, and now we actually have to do our civic duty and get involved.
Yeah, I think they should do jury duty on this. I mean, in the future state, make it like jury duty.
I think so too. And it should be completely random. It should be completely random, so that you don't get, partisan hacks that get in there, no
collusion.
Yeah, exactly. From ABC News, judge issues injunction restricting immigration arrest in the nation's capital. Judge Beryl Howell, that's a name we've heard all too often. It's like Howell, Boasberg, and Chutkin are like the three judges we hear from.
Kaplan, Angeron. There's a lot of bad judges, Brian.
I'm talking about in D.C. Those three are in D.C. Angeron and then Kaplan are in Southern District of New York. Yeah. Judges Beryl Howell granted a preliminary injunction sought by civil liberties and immigration's rights groups in a lawsuit against the USDHS. Officers making civilian immigration arrests generally have to have an administrative warrant under the Immigration and Nationality Act. They can make arrests without a warrant only if they have probable cause to believe the person is in the U.S. illegally and is likely to escape before a warrant can be obtained. The ACLU argued federal officers were frequently patrolling and setting up checkpoints in D.C. I mean, what else do police officers do besides patrol? And if checkpoints are illegal, I've got a lot of DUI cases down here in Florida that are going to get thrown out if checkpoints are illegal.
Yeah.
Setting up checkpoints in DC neighborhoods with large numbers of Latino immigrants and then stopping and arresting people indiscriminately.
So the ACLU likes to lie about this kind of stuff. Just FYI, this is the crux of my case where we were sued under the KKK Act was the reporting of an ACLU researcher cosplaying as journalist, and he said, like outright, they're going into minority neighborhoods armed and, intimidating voters and asking them who they voted for with guns to their heads and all these horrible things. I'm being hyperbolic, but that was basically the crux of it. That it's a tactic the ACLU loves to do, is throw out their allegations of targeting racial and all of that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And I've actually got something that is going to double tap off of the case that you just brought up, your case. But reading on here, it says she ordered any agent who conducts a warrantless civil immigration arrest in Washington to document, quote, the specific particularized facts that supported the agent's pre-arrest probable cause to believe that the person is likely to escape before a warrant can be obtained. They're literally going to bury these cops and these agents under paperwork if they have to go through this for every single immigrant that they encounter.
Well, but see, I don't get that, because I think that detail, that fact of they might be a flight risk, when we're talking about people that are undocumented and have broken immigration laws as a condition of being in the situation that they're in. They have broken immigration laws. They're absolutely a flight risk, and they have networks, dark networks, to be able to smuggle humans by definition of being here illegally. Right. So I think that should be a like a stipulation.
Yeah. And then lastly, it says here, another judge had issued a restraining order barring federal agents from stopping people based solely on their race, language, job, or location in the Los Angeles area after finding they were conducting indiscriminate stops. But the Supreme Court lifted that order in September. So we'll keep an eye on that case in Los Angeles and see when we get a ruling from SCOTUS on that. I think it's supposed to be like early 2026 that they start issuing their rulings from this last session. But yeah, I'm with you that they are a natural flight risk. The idea that you cannot stop, when you're out patrolling and you come across somebody, and this is, I do understand the concern here from the American citizen standpoint. Remember stop and frisk and all that in New York City, but to ask somebody their citizenship status without going further than that, I don't know if that's an infringement on your Fourth Amendment rights. Because as I see it, the Fourth Amendment, the amendments broadly should only apply to U.S. citizens and people here legally. Right. Like people, green card visas, they have an extension, somewhat. I think they have somewhat of the same rights that we do. Not, I don't know, not fully, but go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I forget when we were talking about this, but we were talking about this. And maybe it was Abby. I was talking with Abby on Culture of Change, I think, about the dilution of citizenship and what it means to be an American, and what where the Constitution applies has been diluted. There's this, and this, I'll give a abridged version of my Statue of Liberty rant. Give us all the world's garbage people and you take care of them, America. It's going to be fine. We do not have an obligation to accept everybody that touches the magic soil. But we've been convinced that we do. And entities like the ACLU are putting forward millions of dollars of legal work and PR propaganda, all kinds of things to convince Americans that we have an obligation to take the world's garbage people. Now, I'm not saying that all immigrants are garbage people, but if we're not allowed to ask them anything about themselves, and we're not even allowed to check if they're supposed to be here, I'm going to assume that they are. Because if they were, great citizens who are coming here to, help, sure, find themselves a better life, but also, assimilate into our country and make it great, and, put our nation first, prioritize our values as a nation, I don't think we would have this problem if we had an influx of those kinds of migrants. Rather, we have an influx of entitlement seeking migrants. And we have a whole bunch of allegedly American, I would call them globalist entities, but that are, coming around that dependent entitled class, that imported entitled class, and, fighting for their rights in ways the ACLU has never fought for ours. Yeah. I think we should name the ACLU a terrorist organization. Somebody get that to President Trump.
I don't disagree with that. So I want to play this clip here. This is the Democrat Minneapolis mayor. I'm just going to play it. You won't believe this.
Assalamu alaikum.
Oh.
Haben wir Axel? Maaga Yegawa Yarub Farid, Boca Magala, Minneapolis. Ko Laba Sata Afarshan Maaga Yegawa Yarub Farid, Doka Magalada, Minneapolis.
All right, we can stop that there.
I didn't understand a word of that.
Because it was in Somalian.
Foreigner shit. Yep.
A mayor of a major metropolitan city speaking a foreign language.
Yeah, you're so xenophobic, though, if you want people to speak English in the United States of America, if you want us to have a national language, if you want us to have a national identity, if you want us to be able to preserve American customs, you're racist and a bigot and xenophobic and eat every last dick. I don't care anymore. They have so gone over the line. And by they, I'm still kind of twirling on the ACLU, but that's one of, dozens of NGOs in the network that is propagating this socialist nightmare. It's kind of DSA network of NGOs, DSA enabling NGOs.
Yeah. Let's play this clip. This was from President Trump's cabinet meeting yesterday. We're going to get more into some of these clips towards the end of the show, just kind of broadly, so we get the messages out there. But this one was directly related to that message from the quote unquote mayor of Minneapolis. And check this out.
You told me to look into Minnesota and their fraud on visas and their programs. 50% of them are fraudulent, which means that wacko Governor Walz either is an idiot or he did it on purpose.
Yep.
And I think he's bold, sir. He brought people in there illegally that never should have been in this country, said they were somebody that they're not. They said they were married to somebody who was their brother or somebody else. Fraudulent visa applications, signed up for government programs, took hundreds of billions of dollars from the taxpayers, and we're going to remove them and we're going to get our money back. You told me to look into.
So, as that guy, yeah, go ahead.
Anybody that enabled them that is a naturalized citizen loses their citizenship. Participation in immigration fraud is cause to lose your citizenship. So any naturalized citizens in the city of Minneapolis or the state of Minnesota that are enabling people to commit immigration fraud should not only have the people that they helped lose their visa and be kicked all the way out of our nation and sent back to fucking Somalia, but the people that are naturalized citizens, Ilhan Omar, that helped them and enabled them need to lose their citizenship and get the hell out as well.
Yeah, well said. Now this is I'm going through the court cases because I kind of saved some of these for when Ash is on, because this is like her pastime. I want to play this one. This is the one here. This is the first choice case that's before SCOTUS. And I don't know if you heard yesterday, but Clarence Thomas is going to go ham on the not the prosecutor, the plaintiff's witness in this case, or excuse me, the defense. So First Choice is suing because they got a subpoena at the state level. They're an NGO, a women's resources, NGO. And they're suing because they want to keep donors' information private. So they're suing to fight against a state subpoena and whether or not they have the right to go straight to the Supreme Court, from what I understand. Now, I don't know the gist of it, but this is how ridiculous these lawfare lawsuits are actually going. Nobody complained. Nobody is complaining about the actual investigation in the First Choice. Check this out.
Did you have complaints that formed the basis of your concern about the fundraising activities here?
We certainly had complaints about crisis pregnancy centers that petition.
No, about this crisis pregnancy center.
So I think we've been clear from the outset that we haven't had complaints about this specific.
So you had no basis to think that they were deceiving any of their contributors?
I don't think that's correct, Your Honor. I think we had carefully canvassed all of the public information that is provided on the website of First Choice in making a determination that we wanted to initiate an investigation.
But you had no factual basis.
I don't think that's true, Your Honor. I think, for example, you could take a look at a comparison between the donation page for First Choice that we have carved out from the very beginning.
So you had no complaints.
We had no complaints, but the state governments, federal government, initiate investigations all the time in the absence of complaints where they have a reason to suspect that there could be potential issues of legal compliance. And look, it could be the case based on our investigation, when we look at documents, when we look at information, that ultimately will determine that First Choice isn't liable for any violation
Well,
of
that
the law.
just seemed to be a burdensome way to find out whether someone has a confusing website. But you said earlier that you did not agree with their characterization of why they were being put to this. And it would seem that the obvious way to refute that was to say we had 100 complaints. But you say you have no complaints, but rather you looked at the website and their materials and you think it could have been misleading.
Is this sounding familiar, Ash? Let's keep going.
So why is your characterization any better than theirs?
So, Your Honor, I'd point you to the Turner Declaration, which is at pages 400 to 401 of the Joint Appendix, which lays out the predicate for the state's investigation of First Choice. And we had concerns in 4 buckets. We had concerns about potentially misleading donors. We had concerns about the unlicensed practice of medicine. We had concerns about patient privacy practices. And we had concerns about potentially misleading or untrue medical statements. So I think we had a more than ample basis to initiate this investigation.
But you had no complaints.
And we had no complaints, but I think that, Your Honor, that goes at most to the merits. That doesn't go.
What goes to targeting?
Yeah. So just to be clear, First Choice is a anti-abortion clinic, and that's why they're being
Crisis Pregnancy Center.
Right. Go ahead.
And during the Biden administration, crisis pregnancy centers were targeted. Where you might remember, I think it was Rashida Tlaib. It was either Rashida Tlaib or Ayanna Pressley on the floor of the House talking about these so-called pregnancy centers, and they're so-called this and that. These are medical services for women. They just don't provide abortion. They provide mammograms and pap smears and all the prenatal care and postpartum care and all of the things, a lot of stuff that Planned Parenthood doesn't actually provide. Certainly for post-abortive women, they don't provide postpartum, post-abortive care, which, a lot of women need, but Planned Parenthood denies that there's anything wrong with killing your child. So why would a woman need care after she's done it? They don't do any of that. These centers do that. But the key here, we thought they had bad donors. We thought they had stuff on their website that was wrong. We thought they were making misleading medical statements. Well, why did you think any of those things if you had no complainants? If you had no one bringing you that this was a problem for this specific First Choice center, why did you have those buckets of concerns? Oh, because you were targeting the crisis pregnancy centers during that period of time. Maddening.
That's the key right there. And that was like in the middle of it. And I saw both me and Ash both kind of looked in, our eyes perked up on that part. And that's the point right there, is that this was somebody out there looking for crime rather than responding to a complaint. And this is the same thing that Ash, and Colonel Smith and Holly went through with their case, where they wanted to figure out how to get them. And so they searched everywhere. They finally found one person that was completely separate from anything having to do with what Ash and the organization she was with was doing. Although it's not really an organization, it's anymore. According to,
it never really was.
Yeah,
right. I mean, it was an idea. It's an idea, man. It was just an idea. But yeah, it is this in search of a crime. And in our case, there was a state, federal, and local investigation, right? There's this woman, she made a complaint, and it wasn't really even a complaint. It was like, hey, Jenna Griswold, this thing happened, and I know my rights, and I want to press any charges possible, right? And they're people investigated. The local authorities investigated. AG's office got involved. Sex State gets involved. They pull in the U.S. Attorney's Office. They pull in the FBI. Everybody investigates. There's no crime. There's really nothing they can prove. So what do? Well, 1 month later, we're being sued under civil. Had nothing to do with us. It's on the other side of the mountain range. Never mentioned us, never anything. Then throughout the process, they lied. And guess what? They never got in trouble because leftists can lie and do, again, ACLU nonsense.
Yeah, well, their days of accountability hopefully will come.
I sure hope so. I mean, I'm going to keep fighting for it till it happens.
So do I. We want to see Ashe arguing that same point before the Supreme Court, and Ashe will be up there and she'll be like, well, Justice Thomas, you may remember in New Jersey versus First Choice, or First Choice versus New Jersey, you may remember that they had no complainants. We had no complainants too. In fact, they coerced the woman into lying on behalf. So
I would love to argue before the Supreme Court, but I have additional barriers because there's like a rule from 1970 something that no pro se litigants can argue. Now, I personally think that rule is unconstitutional, that they can't do that. So if we get to that point, I will make that case. So maybe, Brian, maybe one day that could happen.
One day. All right. So President Trump is at it for like the 5th time, but this time it's I don't know. It's getting more and more interesting. Any and all documents, proclamations, executive orders, memorandums, or contracts signed by order of the now infamous and unauthorized autopen within the administration of Joseph R. Biden Jr. are hereby null, void, and of no further force or effect. Anyone receiving pardons, commutations, or any other legal document so signed, please be advised that said document has been fully and completely terminated and is of no legal effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Love it.
I love it too, but what legal effect does a Truth Social post have? That is going to be something pretty interesting. I don't think
that Truth Social post is backed up with legal documents.
Well, that's what I was looking for this morning, and I did not see anything on
the website.
On the website. Let me just make sure that I didn't miss it.
Maybe he's just trolling and trying to get them to lose their shit. Maybe he is baiting them to do something he knows they're going to do in response to that message that is then going to, move things forward. I don't know. I'm here for it, though. I love it when President Trump drops bombs like that and everybody freaks out. It's so much fun to watch.
But this might be something that's worth giving a quick read. America 250, the presidential message on the anniversary of the Monroe Doctrine. On December 2nd, 1823, the doctrine of American sovereignty was immortalized in prose when President James Monroe declared before the nation a simple truth that has echoed throughout the ages. The United States will never waver in defense of our homeland, our interests, or the well-being of our citizens. Today, my administration proudly reaffirms this promise under the new Trump corollary. Say that word for me.
Corollary.
That's what I thought I said, but it's a hard one. To the Monroe Doctrine, that the American people, not foreign nations nor globalist institutions, will always control their own destiny in our hemisphere. More than 2 centuries ago, President Monroe proclaimed before the United States Congress what is today known as the legendary Monroe Doctrine, a bold policy that rejects foreign interference of faraway nations and confidently asserts United States leadership in the Western Hemisphere. Quote, the American continents, by the free and independent condition which they have assumed and maintain, are henceforth not to be considered as subjects for future colonization by any European powers, President Monroe professed. With those mighty words, every nation knew that the United States of America was emerging as a superpower unlike anything the world had ever known, and nothing could ever rival the strength, unity, and resolve of a freedom-loving people. In the centuries since, President Monroe's doctrine of sovereignty has guarded the American continents against communism, fascism, and foreign infringement. And as the 47th President of the United States, I'm proudly reasserting this time-honored policy. Since I took office, I've aggressively pursued an America First policy of peace through strength. We restored U.S. privileged access through the Panama Canal. We are reestablishing American maritime dominance. We are disrupting non-market practices in the international supply chain and logistics sectors. My administration is also halting the flow of deadly drugs flowing through Mexico, ending the invasion of illegal aliens along our southern border, and dismantling narco-terrorist networks all across the Western Hemisphere. To defend our nation's workers and industries, I recently secured historic trade deals with El Salvador, Argentina, Ecuador, and Guatemala, allowing greater and more streamlined market access, reinvigorated by my Trump corollary. The Monroe Doctrine is alive and well, and American leadership is coming roaring back stronger than ever before. Today, we renew our pledge to always uphold American sovereignty, security, and safety first. Above all, we vow to protect our cherished national legacy of Republican self-government against all threats, foreign and domestic.
So corollary is a proposition that follows an already established proposition. So he's basically saying the Trump doctrine is building upon the Monroe Doctrine. I wrote about the Monroe Doctrine in my history update yesterday. Scott, just kind of read it as a little bit of a psyop. You've got the kind of broad message that's communicated is the Americas are closed. European settlers, you cannot come colonize the Americas any longer. North, South, Middle, Latin, whatever, whichever Americas we're talking about, right? Maybe we'll let you have Canada because fuck those guys. But just kidding, Canada, I love you. But what it turned into, right, was kind of the manifest destiny of it all. The American imperialism and expansion. It was like, you can't come in here and colonize the Americas anymore, but the rest of the world is open to us.
Yeah, we can do it. Yeah. I love that. And I want to jump into, I'm going to actually shift things up. I did not plan on reading that, but for those of you that have been listening to Badlands and listening to, a lot of the stuff that like Burning Bright and Ghost and Chris talk about with the Sovereign Alliance and everything else, the Monroe Doctrine is very much in line. The Sovereign Alliance, I should say, is in line with the concepts of the Monroe Doctrine. And so that is a pretty significant, acknowledgement from President Trump right there. That kind of leads into this story.
And that just for folks, what Brian is referring to is kind of the multipolar world regions of responsibility where, the major players in the region are protecting their, but in concept, protecting the smaller nations, protecting the continents in which their region resides from exploitation from major superpowers of the world, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, regional spheres of influence.
Yeah.
So there's this story here, CNBC. Putin threatens Europe with war if it wants one, as Ukraine peace talks falter. This headline right here is flat out the epitome of propaganda.
Yeah.
This is beyond propaganda. This is dangerous right here, what they said.
Well, everything the networks say about Putin is propaganda, right?
100%.
A good starting point. But yes, I agree with you on this headline.
But Americans are going to read this and be like, Putin threatened to bomb Europe. No, it's the other way around, assholes. Yeah. Europe threatened to bomb Putin. And Putin simply responded, bring it on, bitches. That's what Putin said. Now, I want you to read the rest.
That's Brian's translation of the Russian.
Yeah, Putin. Yeah, to be fair, I just propagandize you guys because Putin didn't actually say that. Although I'm thinking that Putin's thought is more in line with what I just said than with what CNBC
So
said.
now you're doing Putin's thoughts, and now we're minority reporting on Putin.
I have watched the Oliver Stone Putin interviews like 4 times now. I believe I can articulate his thoughts better than CNBC can.
Fair.
Okay. So let's read this. Peace talks held between the U.S. and Russia on Tuesday failed to deliver a breakthrough with Russian President Vladimir Putin ahead of discussions doubling down on threats towards Europe. No, he never threatened Europe. They threatened him. They said, this isn't what we normally do, but sometimes preemptive actions can be defensive. That's what we covered yesterday. We covered this yesterday with Gordon, where they said, and maybe Ash can find that quote. I can't remember the NATO guy's name, like Drugabar Usay or something like that. But yeah, that's what they said. They said yesterday that Europe is considering, it's
brief. I think that's in the brief.
Okay, see if you can find that so I make sure I quote it specifically. But reading on, Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner traveled to Moscow to talk with Putin. The talks lasted for 5 hours. Russian presidential aide Yuri Ushakov told reporters, quote, "We agreed on some things while others caused criticism, and the president, meaning Putin, also made no secret of our critical, even negative attitude toward a number of proposals. But the main thing is that we had a very useful discussion. Now, it's not clear if they talked about the 28-point plan or the 19-point plan that's since been talked about since then, although we don't know what the 19 proposals that remain are. I've speculated that, the EU is the deal breaker for Russia. Like, allowing Ukraine to join the EU is a no-go for Russia.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't think we've actually seen that one acknowledged, but this is where it gets concerning. Ready for war. The talks in Moscow came after Putin launched a tirade against Europe, saying its counter-peace proposals were, quote unquote, absolutely unacceptable for Russia, and that the region's leadership had, quote, no peace agenda. Quote, we're not going to war with Europe. I've said that 100 times. But if Europe suddenly wants to fight us and starts, we're ready right now. So I think my interpretation is a little bit dramatic, but, hey, if you want to fight us, bring it on, bitches. I added the bitches. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's consistent. It's in the spirit and the letter of Putin's energy on this story. So I'll allow it.
I mean, that is just like insane right there. But the biggest takeaway from this, though, Ash, and going back to the Monroe Doctrine and what Trump said and the idea of the sovereign alliance, is Yushakov is very kind of not sympathetic, but very agreeable with our peace plan, saying, hey, we still got some deals to iron out, some little wrinkles that need to be fixed. But then when they're talking about whatever Europe has put before them, they're like, oh, fuck no, we're not listening to these guys. And you kind of see more of the negotiation between the U.S. and Russia rather than Europe. And if you look at the peace proposal, the 28-point plan, one of the contingencies in that is that Russia is going to have to give, I think it was like $100 billion to Ukraine for rebuilding, and the U.S. is going to reap 50% of the profits, the return on investment from that. But then there was also $100 billion from the EU that has to be put into into Ukraine. And there was no stipulation that Europe is going to reap any of the ROI on that. So it's kind of like, hey, Russia, you're paying for this because you effed up, and Europe, you're paying for this because you effed up. And I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Did you find that?
No. I found I kind of lost the thread of what I was looking for.
Oh, the NATO remarks about Russia and how.
Oh no, I have I have just Putin comment. I've got the Zero Hedge article. That's what was in the brief, the Zero Hedge article on this story, and it's there's one quote from Zelensky in here, but no NATO comments.
His name is Admiral Giuseppe Cavo Dragon, who chairs NATO's
Giuseppe or Giuseppe?
Giuseppe.
Okay.
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe.
Oh,
which would be weird because you're Italian, so you should definitely say that one right.
Wow, racist much?
Admiral, an
Admiral
Italian that can't say Giuseppe? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm Sicilian. We don't have those weird ass names in Sicily.
Okay. To all the Italians, please fact check Brian on whether or not there are Giuseppes in Sicily. Thank you.
Who chairs NATO's military committee suggested in a recent interview that, quote, a preemptive strike could be viewed as, quote unquote, defensive action in certain circumstances involving Russia's hybrid threats like cyber attacks and sabotage. So there's the kind of the crux of what Giuseppe Dragon said. So then we have this from RT. Pentagon cut off communication with Germany Army chief. So you see, again, the U.S. and Russia negotiating. Kushner's over there. Witkoff is over there. They're like, oh, yeah, we kind of agree, but we don't agree, but we're willing to keep working. And then they tell Europe, they're like, piss off, Europe. Your plan sucks. Get out of here. And so that's Russia telling Europe that. And so what does America tell at least Germany? Communications between the Pentagon and the German Defense Ministry have been sharply reduced, according to The Atlantic, citing German Lieutenant General Christian Freuding. After years of being able to contact American defense officials day and night, Freuding says communications have been now, quote, cut off, like really cut off, end quote. As an example, Freuding recalled that when President Trump abruptly halted weapons shipments to Ukraine earlier this year, Berlin received no warning of the move. The officer said he now relies on diplomats in Washington to, quote, find somebody in the Pentagon, end quote, for basic information about U.S. policy. Did he just admit to trying to recruit diplomats in the Pentagon to spy on behalf of Germany?
I mean, they're doing it in the military. Why not in the
Well,
bureaucratic center? Well, do you consider? I mean, I guess they're military still, but
technically, yeah.
I think the TV generals is how I think about that, but that's not fair. That's not fair for the entirety of the Pentagon, certainly.
His comments come as Washington has moved to reduce its direct involvement in the Ukraine conflict and in Europe in general, urging NATO members to play a bigger role in their defense. With the U.S. winding down activity on the continent, Germany has continued a military buildup, expanding weapons production, accelerating procurement programs, and approving long-term borrowing to support militarization. And then my favorite part is that at the very end here, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, calls German and the EU's new efforts the Fourth Reich. And I absolutely love that. So you are seeing kind of this fracture going on between the United States and NATO, and you know, Russia and the US are getting along cordially in this agreement, and we're like telling the EU fuck off, because all they want to do is continue to, you know, promulgate this war. So Monroe Doctrine 101, impromptu segment.
Nailed it. Love it.
All right, let's get back into US politics here. From CBS News, James Comey's friend seeks to block DOJ from accessing materials seized from him more than 5 years ago. A friend and former lawyer, I like to call him an accomplice, but I guess friend and former lawyer can go. A friend and former lawyer of James Comey is taking legal action against the Justice Department over material that investigators seized from him more than 5 years ago, and is asking a federal court to block the government from using the files in any way. The material at issue was seized by the FBI in 2019 and 2020 and includes information from Richmond's hard drive, 2 email accounts, and an Apple iCloud account. Investigators obtained search warrants for the device and accounts as part of a probe called Arctic Haze, which examined a potential leak of sensitive information, but was closed in 2021 without any charges being filed. Why do you think that case was closed in 2021 without any charges?
Because they stole the election, certainly.
Because they stole the election to cover all this up. Could this be a continuation of the RICO case, the RICO Grand? Perhaps. Did the
Arctic haze turn into a frost, or did the frost turn into a haze?
I think it was the other way around. I think the haze turned into a frost.
Seems that way from the timeline.
Yeah. Because Arctic Haze looked like it was started under Trump. Investigators obtained search warrant for the devices as part of a probe called Arctic Haze, which was in 2019 and 2020. So it's sounding like that the FBI opened Arctic Haze under Trump, and then Arctic Frost became the cover-up. So like you got the haze and then the frost covers it up.
Yeah, well, it sounds like either way they put justice on ice.
Yeah, 100%. Magistrate Judge William Fitzpatrick found that the government likely seized material outside the scope of the original warrants, held on to that information for years after the Arctic Haze investigation was closed, and then conducted a new search on Richmond's files in September. The judge suggested that the federal investigators should have obtained a new warrant for the search of Richmond's material in September, but noted that the parameters likely would have been narrower in scope than the original warrants. Lawyers for Richmond argued his Fourth Amendment rights were violated and asked the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. to order the immediate return of the files and block the government from using the, quote, improperly seized or retained materials any further.
He sounds super innocent, right?
He sounds super scared. He sounds like a little whiny bitch.
Yeah, he does. Please don't use my files that prove my crime from a few years ago. The statute of limitations is up on that crime. I don't know, man. That's where overt acts and conspiracies can extend the statute of limitations. I look forward to following that one. Just so you know, Bravest via Grok says Giuseppe is a common Sicilian name from St. Joseph.
Okay. Giuseppe. That's how we pronounce it in Sicily. Giuseppe.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Goose.
Giuseppe. All right. So
I'm ashamed at all of you Italians in the chat who are not challenging this. Seriously, where are you at?
Show
courage.
It's a long word, and I started it making the G sound. All right, I'm done with this. Getting back to the actual case at hand here. Yeah, you're right though. This is a continuation. Now, when we started finding out more and more about this Comey investigation, one of the things that we kept saying was, this is so stupid that all we're getting out of this is perjury, right? Like, we're finding out that he's leaking classified documents, he's leaking private conversations with the president, giving it to one of his associates, his attorney. We're seeing, the Comey sending emails to, I can't remember the other one's name, not Richmond, but the other guy that was close to him, that was working under him, one of his attorneys. But he's sending him documents, who's then sending it to himself and then deleting the documents from the original place so that he has them in the new place. And like, just a massive cover up, trying to, kind of cover the tracks here. And we said all along that this should be a much bigger indictment. And Catherine Herridge says we're looking for superseding indictments. She said that. A lot of other people, I think Megyn Kelly has said that. She's an attorney as well. Not that Herridge, I don't think Herridge is an attorney.
Solomon has as well, I think.
Solomon has
implied it, yeah.
And so then we see the investigation out of the Southern District of Florida, and we're wondering, yesterday, John Solomon or Just the News reported that we don't know where the new indictment could come, because they could be filing a new indictment on Comey. We don't know where it will come, and I think it's going to come in Florida. Emerald Dragon says, "Sorry, Brian, got to take Ash's side on this one." I know, I do too. I slipped up. I didn't realize what word I was saying until I was halfway through the word, and then I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. No, it's all good.
Yeah, it is. Whatever. Goof CP. Jeez.
Goose
all right. Let's jump into. Do you want to tack on anything with the Comey story?
No, I'm here for it, and I think I got slightly distracted in the chat, but I think it's relevant. Just look for the comment if I can find it. Yeah, our Rhodey said, should crimes committed by government employees have statutes of limitations? I think that's an excellent point. No, they should not. Because if we're talking about crimes committed in your public service, that should be the harshest penalties. And we've seen that precedent set, right? I mean, Tina Peters made one misrepresentation to 3 people and got 9 years in prison because the, public trust associated with public service is so pronounced and profound. Now, Jenna Griswold did exactly the same shit, and she investigated herself and everything is fine. So I'm not saying that the state of Colorado is an exemplar for justice. I'm saying the precedent that Democrats have set is that if you commit crimes in the context of your public service, you should have the book thrown at you. And I think that's true. I also think that there should be no statute of limitations if you have defrauded the people, because the people pay you. And the whole thing is based on a pinky promise of trust, that you take that oath and you abide by it, and you're actually, looking out for the people's best interests. None of that's actually true. A lot of them don't even take oaths. I don't think. We can't find them on record, right? We can't find record of a lot of those oaths taken by public officials. So, yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. When this case was dismissed in 2021, going back to James Comey, no reasonable prosecutor would bring charges against Hillary Clinton in this case. Not your job, dude. Like, that is so far outside the scope of what your job is as the director of the FBI, whether or not to recommend somebody for you just give them the facts and let the attorneys, the very, very special attorneys are very special people. They need to be regarded in the highest esteem. They put themselves on the pedestal. I have a absolute animosity towards lawyers, but check this out. This is the FBI document that was used as the closing letterhead to close the Arctic Haze investigation. And I want to see if you notice something in here. Look at these redactions. So I think there's a possibility that we could find out some more things about why this case was closed and whether or not it actually should have been closed Look at this.
Yeah.
Like, where is transparency? Look at this.
It's under those redactions.
Transparency is under those redactions.
Transparency has been redacted.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Well, national security, Brian, you can't. If you air their crime, if you air the crimes of the people responsible for national security, it's a threat to national security. So therefore, they're above the law and can't be held accountable, allegedly.
All right, so let's jump into this story.
I would also just to your point about lawyers and how they, they're super important and deserve $900 an hour. Some of them, some lawyers are fantastic. The majority of them are cowards and cowardly process managers. I would say they manage the process of a lawsuit, but they are too cowardly to really fight for the best interest of their clients. That's been my experience. Certainly not all lawyers. Hashtag not all lawyers. There's probably a tenth of a percent that are good. I know a few good ones. So
even the ones that aren't,
way more bad ones.
Even the ones that don't legitimately make a concerted effort to be good, they're inherently bad. Like, just that's the nature of being a lawyer, is having, and I do understand this to a certain extent. Like, everybody has the right to representation. The lawyer, what was the Lincoln Lawyer? Did you watch the Lincoln Lawyer?
Oh, it's the one where he's driving around in a car, right?
Yeah, that's
the Lincoln Lawyer. The Lincoln Lawyer is the Lincoln car, not like Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, no, yeah. I saw a couple episodes of that, but not enough to know the show.
It's pretty good.
You know why I was so late this morning though, Brian? Because I joined right as the intro was playing. I'm usually in a few minutes early, but not today. You know why? Because I woke up late. You know why I woke up late, Brian? Because I started freaking watching Severance because you told me to, and didn't stop in time and overslept a little bit, which obviously is my fault, but I'm still going to blame you for it. But that show's really good. But
you haven't watched Paradise yet.
No, I went there first, and it was Hulu or something that I don't pay for. So, but I think there's an active subscription on one of the TVs. It just wasn't like, I didn't have it on all the devices. So I ended up watching Severance instead because that was Apple TV and I have that handy.
Severance gets a little crazy, but watch Severance and then watch Paradise right after it.
Okay.
And they're like, they should be prequels and
is Paradise sci-fi too?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. Okay, let's jump into this story here from CNN. Stefanik and Johnson in public spat over 2016 Russia probe provision complicating defense bill vote. Now, this is mainly over a provision that Stefanik is trying to stuff into the NDAA and saying that it's like a deep state, like it's the way to get the deep state, right? I don't know about this. And I'm curious to get Ash's take on this. The provision would require the FBI to notify Congress when opening a counterintelligence investigation into presidential and federal candidates seeking office. And some Republicans were trying to attach it to the must-pass annual defense bill that lawmakers are trying to approve by the end of the month. Elise Stefanik announced that congressional leaders were keeping her provision out of the sweeping defense policy bill known as the NDAA. Stefanik's withdrawn support could pose a problem for Johnson, who should more Republicans follow suit. At present, the speaker can only lose 2 Republicans on any party line vote. Johnson said that the ranking members in both chambers did not agree with the measure, leading to its removal, but he argued that, quote, it doesn't matter, it can become law, or even that, it doesn't mean it can't become law, or even that it's a final decision, end quote. The speaker added that he supports the provision, saying, quote, I mean, I would vote for it. I think it's smart, and I'm not sure exactly why it wasn't included, so I don't know why she's so frustrated with me. I literally had nothing to do with it. I'm happy to roll up my sleeves and help her. Stefanik said in response, quote, the speaker texted me yesterday claiming he knew nothing about it. Yeah, right. This is his preferred tactic to tell members when he gets caught torpedoing the Republican agenda. It wasn't on your radar. This is the only provision in the bill to root out the deep state. This is not a regular order. Stefanik is now running for New York governor.
They only get this mad when it's about themselves.
Well, that's one takeaway right there. But here's the thing, and I don't think like a blanket disclosure to Congress that you're opening a counterintelligence investigation into somebody should ever be a thing, because we have more leaks in Congress than the Titanic. And I don't like that idea. I understand the sensitivity of investigations, but I also understand at the same token the politicization and the weaponization of those investigations. So it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, I don't want everybody in Congress knowing that the FBI is doing a counterintelligence investigation on somebody that they legitimately believe is doing something, you know, outside the scope of what they're supposed to be doing, against the law. But at the same time, we just went through the complete and total weaponization. So I don't know where you go with this.
Well, yeah, and they're not talking, as I read that, and correct me if I'm wrong on my understanding of it, but they're not talking about, you know, congressional oversight of the DOJ opening counterterrorism investigations broadly. They're talking about when it happens to them. And when it happens to them, we need to be notified and we need to know this and that. No. And John says, oh, I like this provision. I don't know why it wasn't included. This is a great idea. No. This is another example, as I read it, and maybe I'm getting it wrong, but this is another example of Congress voting themselves their own stuff that gives them special, you know, well, we get to have oversight of any investigations that law enforcement is doing into us. What? Right. No, nobody anywhere ever gets that. So internal affairs, internal audit is out the window, right? No, Congress is full of criminals. Believe it's probably 98 to 100% of them are crimemen. Just look at their net worths, follow the money, see what happens when you do a true assessment of the people occupying the seats that make the laws and then elevate themselves above the laws so that the laws don't apply to them. This is another example of that. The Stefanik Johnson thing is kayfabe. Yep. There, and not in a good way. Some of the kayfabe we see is good. This is not that.
Well, so a couple of the key takeaways here. Johnson said the ranking members, meaning Democrats in both chambers, didn't agree with the measure. But he goes on to say it doesn't mean it can't become law or even that it's a final decision. If the ranking members in both, chambers of Congress, meaning the Democrat leaders in the House and the Senate, don't approve of it, it's not going to become law, period, because of, the filibuster and everything else. But the reason that they're trying that Stefanik, and this is the part that concerns me, the reason Stefanik wants to shove it into the National Defense Authorization Act is because it's an omnibus bill and you'll have to vote for it otherwise. And this is how Obama got the Smith Modernization Act through. Yep. He stuffed it into the National Defense Authorization Bill because it failed on the merits of its own, standing as a standalone bill. It failed. And
isn't this also the Ukraine funding thing that they held up the NDAA forever until they were able to get the Ukraine fund, and then they all waved foreign flags on the floor of the House of Representatives? I'm telling you, crime in MGT Stewart. I scrolled off my thing. It said they're probably criming. They're probably criming as we speak. MPG Stewart. Congress is probably criming around as we speak. 100%. There's literally no question in my mind that Congress is criming as we speak.
Yeah. And so again, it's one of those things where, like, I understand, like, in a perfect world, but what's the old expression? If men were angels, we wouldn't need, what's the
governments
expression?
Would be unnecessary. Yeah.
Governments would be unnecessary. If men were angels, governments would be unnecessary. Wow. I just saw a video on this clip here of President Trump with, like, the weirdest hair I've ever seen. Let me see if I can find it. Look at that. I've never seen his hair like that.
Oh.
I've never seen his hair like that. That's
it looks weird. Like he's got hat hair.
Yeah, perhaps. Okay, but I do want to segue into this article. And it's kind of related to the last one. From the Hill, Ohio senator introduces measure to eliminate dual citizenship. Again,
just the quote is, if angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary, and it's Federalist 51.
Is that oh, okay.
No. It is Madison.
Madison. Yeah. I thought it was Jefferson, but Madison works too. That's a little
Jefferson didn't write Federalist Papers, right? Wasn't he anti-Federalist?
No, Yeah, that's why when you said that. Okay. Well, I mean, Madison was kind of on the fence too, though. He wasn't a Federalist per se. All right. Anyways, from the Hill, Senator Bernie Moreno has introduced the Exclusive Citizenship Act of 2025, which would make it so that no one, this isn't just for Congress, make it so that no one may be a citizen or national of the U.S. while simultaneously having any foreign citizenship. If passed, a U.S. citizen who voluntarily acquires foreign citizenship would have to relinquish their U.S. citizenship after the date of enactment. Those who have dual citizenship would have to submit a written renunciation of foreign citizenship to the Secretary of State or a written renunciation of U.S. citizenship to the Secretary of Homeland Security no later than 1 year after the enactment of the act. He says, quote, if being an American is an honor and a privilege, and if you want to be an American, it's all or nothing. It's time to end dual citizenship for good. And I agree. However, the Supreme Court does not. Multiple Supreme Court cases have been instrumental in establishing dual citizenship as a constitutional right, including Talbot versus Jansen, 1795, which ruled that U.S. citizens who acquire foreign citizenship do not have to waive their U.S. citizenship, and Afroyim versus Rusk in 1967, which ruled that a U.S. citizen cannot lose their citizenship unless they willingly surrender it.
Or commit immigration fraud as a naturalized citizen.
Yeah. While the U.S. government doesn't keep statistics on dual citizens, it's estimated that more than 40 million Americans, many of whom are Mexican Americans, are eligible for that dual citizenship. I want to go back up to this part right here. And I love this bill. I do. I don't think you should be allowed to have dual citizenship. You are loyal to one country, and that is the country that you currently call home, unless you're an expat, which you could be an expat. That's fair enough. But here's the thing that concerns me about this: this bill's dead on arrival. Okay, unless
because they're all dual citizens. Is that why?
Well, yeah. First and bingo. That is first and foremost. So this is like the ultra right extremist ideology. And I'm not saying it's literally ultra right. I'm saying that that's how they're going to label this. It's so far to the right because they want to take away citizenship from everyone, not just Congress. We'll get to that bridge eventually. Right now, I want them to announce their dual citizenship, proclaim it. That's it. If you're going to run
a different bill,
and it's not out there yet.
I'm saying that would be a different bill if we're doing anything. So this is dead on arrival in its current form right now, right? But what it would take, particularly, and this is my opinion based on limited knowledge, that it would take a constitutional amendment, because if you look at the arguments in those SCOTUS cases that were cited, based on the Constitution as written right now, it has been preserved and upheld as a right. So we would need to make it a constitutional amendment to end dual citizenship. You cannot be a U.S. citizen and a citizen of another nation. I have no problem with this, literally no problem with it. I think it's fine. I think that if you have dual citizenship, you by definition have dual loyalties. And I think that particularly if we're going to be the dumping ground for the world's garbage humans, as it says on the inscription to the Statue of Liberty, then we have to have that mean something. The concept of citizenship has gotten so diluted, people can't even define it. We've at the same time dumbed down education, so the Americans don't know the Constitution and don't know their rights. All of that is by design. So this is a good first step towards the mind shift that would be required to be able to accomplish a constitutional amendment to this end. But I agree with you; it's dead on arrival right now.
I also
think that that's largely because the majority of the Congress are probably dual citizens.
So I haven't read the actual bill, but where it starts here, it says no one may be a citizen or national of the U.S. while simultaneously blah blah blah. If passed, a U.S. citizen who voluntarily acquires foreign citizenship. So I don't know if it would go the other way around. If you're a foreign national and come to the U.S., can you get U.S. citizenship? I don't think we give. Do we give U.S. citizenship to foreign nationals who don't renounce their own citizenship? Maybe ask a large language model. But yeah, my whole point is this is going so far to the extreme on this, which we can get there eventually. I would be all for probing that, going that route. But in the meantime, I just want to know if I'm voting for somebody if they're a dual citizen, even though votes don't matter because they're fake and gay. But I want to know, who has dual citizenship and with what countries? Is it, Israel? Is it Canada? Is it England? Is it, Somalia? Whatever the case might be. So
let's see. The answer is not always. It depends on the law of the original country.
Oh, so it's not even our law then.
Yeah, for most people naturalizing in the U.S., under U.S. law, when someone becomes a U.S. citizen, they take an oath in which they renounce and abjure all allegiance to any foreign state. But that oath does not automatically force you to lose or renounce your previous citizenship. The U.S. does not require you to give up your former nationality and does not police whether you keep it. Whether you keep your prior citizenship depends on the other country's laws. Some countries allow dual citizenship. Others require you to renounce your previous citizenship when you naturalize elsewhere. From a U.S. legal standpoint, naturalizing in America does not automatically strip you of your former citizenship.
Yeah. Well, screw that. We should not be
change
allowed
that.
Yeah, exactly. You should not be allowed to have dual citizenship in this country.
Agreed.
All right,
it is the greatest country on earth. It is an absolute honor and privilege to naturalize into citizenship here. Being born here is the greatest privilege that you can find yourself in 2025 on the globe, in my opinion. If you are in the realm, in my opinion, it has to mean something. We have diluted the value of U.S. citizenship such that people think it is coming here to be entitled and dependent on working people. That shit needs to end. And I think if other countries do it, I think that we should make it great. We should make sole citizenship great again.
Yeah, I'm checking something really quick. Speaking of the entitlements, I think the USDA has officially declared that they're going to re-register for SNAP.
Who's re-registering for SNAP?
SNAP recipients must re-register. I saw that this morning, and we
need to do that with elections. Voter rolls next, please.
No, they have not officially declared that. So do not quote me on that. I agree. They should.
And they should then extend it immediately to elections. Voter rolls across the nation need to be wiped and reestablished with people going in and showing ID to vote.
Absolutely. All right, let's check out this clip of President Trump talking about the Venezuelan boat strikes.
We lost last year. I think it was more than that. But, people don't like saying it because they always said 100,000, 115,000, numbers we've been hearing for years. So we lost last year more than 200,000 people, dead people, ruined families beyond the 200,000. And those 200,000, that family will never be the same. But these people have killed over 200,000 people, actually killed over 200,000 people last year. And those numbers are down. Those numbers are down. They're way down. And they're down because we're doing these strikes. And we're going to start doing those strikes on land, too. The land is much easier. It's much easier. And we know the routes they take. We know everything about them. We know where they live. We know where the bad ones live. And we're going to start that very soon, too.
Mr. President, thank you so much, Mr. President.
You know what? When we start that, we're going to drive those numbers down so low. And then,
by the way, that comment, we know where they live, reminds me of, remember when President Trump was talking about the Iranian, or was it a Taliban leader? And he's like, hey, he didn't want to negotiate with me. And then I showed him a picture of his house. And he was like, oh, we'll negotiate. We'll negotiate. That's what that reminded me of right there.
About that, yeah.
And you can have families be able to live without the fear of their son or daughter just having a pill to have a little fun and ending up dying within a period of 60 seconds, right? No, we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let it continue to happen. What Biden did to this country by allowing all these people, and I call them animals in many cases, I think they're animals, to come into our country and destroy our country and let all those drugs pour in. Let people just walk across the border like it was nothing. You look at them, a lot of them, you say, oh, let's not discriminate. I'm not talking about color. I'm just talking about, you look into the eyes of some of these people. We're smart. And you see a killer. Come on in. Just come on in. 11,888 murderers. Many of them committed more than one murder. He allowed them into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. But he also allowed drugs to come in at record numbers, and hundreds of thousands of people a year died. And we're taking those son of a bitches out.
I love it. We're taking those son of a bitches out. There
People
are
freaking out about this.
Why?
This drug boat thing. People are losing their shit about it.
Well, we're going to kind of segue now into President Trump's cabinet meetings yesterday, and we got a couple clips on the drug boat debacle. Here's another clip talking about the fog of war.
We didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike. I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and fire and smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources, not based in anything, not based in any truth at all. And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about American heroes, about the judgment that they made. I wrote a whole book on this topic because of what politicians and the press does to warfighters. President Trump has empowered commanders to do what is necessary, which is dark and difficult things in the dead of night on behalf of the American people. We support them, and we will stop the poisoning of the American people.
That one gives me just a little bit of concern. The way he says, I did not personally see anybody hanging off the boat. And I'm starting to wonder maybe just a little bit if there was. Now, let me be perfectly clear.
Do we have images of this? Have we seen these
No.
people? Because I've heard this claim a bunch now. Okay.
No.
So we haven't seen it. Okay.
So I'm still standing by. I don't think this happened. I said yesterday, I watched that strike. I know what a Hellfire rocket can do. I know what these missile attacks can do. There's no way somebody survived that on that small of a boat. But the way he said, the way he kind of, I didn't like his wording.
Sounds like he's leaving it open. Right?
Exactly. And that's the only thing I'm saying here. Now, to be perfectly clear, I think even if they were hanging to that boat, it was still justified. I think that second strike was absolutely justified. So there's that.
Do you have Rand Paul's letter?
I do. That's the next thing that I was about to bring up. But yeah, we'll jump into that now. So here is Rand Paul. Put this out. The Coast Guard reports that 3/4 of the boats that they stop have drugs. That's a great job and an admirable record for accurate information. But it's not so great if you're droning them instead of arresting them. If you're killing people, 1 out of 4 potentially being wrong is too many. So let's jump into this actual letter and let's think about this critically. First and foremost, you guys have heard me on this show many times talk about what actually happens when you have these drug interdictions. Where you have Coast Guard boats on the open seas, big cutter ships that can't go 60 miles an hour all the time, chasing down boats that can go 60 miles an hour. And what happens is they dump their load. And, most of the time they'll have some sort of a way to recover that load, whether it's, weighted salt blocks that dissolve over time, might take 2 or 3 days for them to dissolve. And then they pop back up. They've got GPS monitors on them and they send boats out to go recover them. And then, move about their stuff. Sometimes they don't have that, or it gets cut off and it washes ashore on Miami Beach and there's a great party on South Beach that night. Right. So when you hear Rand Paul saying that 1/4 of them don't, well, 1/4 of them got away with dumping it, perhaps. But here's the other part about it. It says from September 1st, 2024 to October 7th, 2025, Coast Guard surface assets operating under Coast Guard Law Enforcement Authority interdicted 212 suspected drug smuggling vessels at sea headed towards the United States. Of the 212, 41 of them had no illicit contraband on board when interdicted. 24 of those 41 vessels without contraband did not appear to commit any federal criminal offense. So Rand Paul's a little deceptive there. So out of the 41, that means that 17 of them, Keck, did commit a federal criminal offense. Yeah. What was that federal criminal offense? Was it something that suggested they dumped their load? Because now the number goes from 1 in 4 down to probably like 1 in 6, right?
Yeah. Well, so what I heard yesterday was it was 21%, which is closer to 1 in 5, right? And so I think that Rand Paul is being deceptive. I'm also really interested in why Rand Paul's solution is to defend the cartels and to protect the rights of the cartels. Let's arrest the people. There's all the problems with getting the evidence, as you said, but you're also putting U.S. Coast Guard men and women in harm's way in that respect, when we know that the overwhelming chances that these are smuggling boats. I also think that they probably have intelligence that tells them which boats to target, right?
Well, so that's the other thing is the Coast Guard letter here says surface assets. So again, surface assets is implying, ships and vessels and stuff. What you're seeing from the Secretary of War right now in the Department of War is you're seeing satellite imagery, drones, you're seeing, aerial assets, space assets, all being used to gather this intelligence. I think Admiral Bradley, the admiral that's conducting, these operations, is a JSOC, commander. He's a JSOC admiral, and so he is utilizing well beyond what the Coast Guard has the capabilities of doing. All right, Coast Guard is still DHS, Department of Homeland Security. They're not DOW, so they don't have all the assets that the Department of War would have available here.
Do you remember, Brian, in the 2022 midterm election, which we had a lot of executive roles, right? State level executive roles on the ballot in that election, as we do in most midterm elections. Do you remember what the number one issue was that Republicans ran on while America First candidates were running on election integrity and, ending corruption? The establishment Republicans were pretty solidified around a single topic. Do you remember what it was?
No.
It was fentanyl. It was fentanyl is flooding into our communities and killing Americans and killing American kids, and we have to rally around this. We could not give any airtime or any energy to election integrity, Republicans. And I say I'm not one. Haven't been since 2011. They could not discuss the issues that actually mattered to the American people in 2022 because it was fentanyl was 100% what we were focused on. Fentanyl. Now President Trump is back in office. We have the opportunity to go after the fentanyl trade. And where are Republicans? Defending the fucking cartels. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough. That's a good point. Yeah. Well, I mean, Rand Paul isn't, I don't know, that would lump all of the Republicans in with this assessment right here. But number 2 on here, of the 212 total vessels interdicted during this period, 69 were interdicted in the Caribbean Sea by the Coast Guard surface assets operating under Coast Guard law enforcement. Of these 69 interdictions, 14, by the way, the 24 out of 212 is 1 in 10, not 1 in 4, or 1 in 10. That didn't commit a federal crime. 14 had no illicit contraband on board when interdicted. 11 of those 14 vessels without contraband did not appear to commit any federal criminal offense. Of the 69 Caribbean interdictions, 14 vessels were interdicted off the coast of Venezuela. 3 of the 14 vessels interdicted near Venezuela had no illicit contraband on board when interdicted, but 1 of the 3 violated other U.S. federal criminal statutes. But again, going back to the point, none of them should have this on board when they get interdicted by the Coast Guard. They all dump it unless they somehow, aren't able to. I don't know, but they catch them with a little bit of the stuff still on board. But that's just absurd that Rand Paul is like comparing apples to oranges in terms of the Department of War and their capabilities versus surface assets of the Coast Guard. It's absurd.
Oh, I think it's very revealing. Right. We've seen, particularly in the first 10 months of this second Trump administration, we have seen where these people who campaigned on President Trump's coattails, right? They rode his coattails back into office. They've kept their seats in prior elections because of President Trump's endorsement and support. And now we're in I think about go back to the election night and kind of where we were thinking we were going in terms of golden age. And if there's one thing that we can rely upon, it's that the Republican Party will be feckless and get in the way and stop progress towards us actually getting to the golden age. It shouldn't be surprising to anyone. It happens all of the time.
Yeah. And before we get into this next clip from Secretary Hegseth, just to be clear, when Rand Paul says 1 in 4 by the Coast Guard, the reason it's 1 in 4 and not 100%, 1 in 4 don't have drugs beyond just dumping them off board, is because they do occasionally run into a ship that is, conducting lawful business, fishing, whatever the case might be. When you have the assets that the Department of War has right now, that Admiral Bradley and the Joint Special Operations Command have, you don't make those mistakes. These are people that are, doing this reconnaissance. I would bet you, if I had access to the classified information, I would bet you they're tracking them from the jungle all the way to the boat and then out to sea and waiting until they are assured of where it's going. This is not like they just happen to see a boat and they're like, oh, let's look. Oh, look, it's got some white stuff on it. That might be cocaine. Let's blow it up. No, this is very strategic, and they are very deliberate in these actions. Meanwhile, Rand Paul wants to compare the Coast Guard, and I love our Coast Guard. Lee Walden, if you're out there, I love you, brother, but you guys don't have nearly the resources that the Department of War and JSOC has. And we'll drop that there.
Well, they should probably. They should have more resources, particularly if they're going to be conducting operations of war against drug boats and,
No. I'm saying, yeah, but I'm saying the Coast Guard shouldn't have. The Coast Guard maybe should have that. It's just really expensive, I'm sure.
I think the Coast Guard should have all of the resources that they need to protect the coast of the homeland, right? I mean, why would we put more resources into protecting Ukraine's borders, protecting Israel's borders, protecting Taiwan's borders than we put into protecting our own? What the hell is wrong with these people?
Did you see my article yesterday about Honduras? You didn't see that? We sent a delegation of congressmen down to Honduras to monitor their elections, all from the House Permanent Select Intelligence Committee.
So a bunch of recipients of fake elections went down to monitor other people's fake elections. Solid.
Not only that, it's a bunch of people that are in the intelligence committee, essentially in the community, going down there to monitor. Were our people that monitor actual elections not available? And by the way, in Honduras, they have no mail-in voting, no early voting, voter ID mandatory, using biometric facial recognition, and no, what was the other one? No mail-in, no early voting, voter ID.
So more real than our elections.
Way more real than our elections. Way more real than our elections. So, all right, let's jump into this next clip here from Hegseth.
So the president had the courage to designate these cartels as designated terrorist organizations. Now, a number of us here served in the military and spent 20 years fighting terrorists like Al-Qaeda and ISIS on the other side of the world. How do you treat Al-Qaeda and ISIS? Do you arrest them and treat them, pat them on the head and say, don't do that again? Or do you end the problem directly by taking a lethal, kinetic approach? And that's the way President Trump has authorized the War Department to look at these cartels. And I wish everybody could be in the room watching our professionals like Mitch Bradley, Admiral Mitch Bradley, and others at JSOC and SOCOM and other commanders. The deliberative process, the detail, the rigorous, the intel, the legal, the evidence-based way that we're able to, with sources and methods that we can't reveal here, that make sure that every one of those drug boats is tied to a designated terrorist organization. We know who's on it, what they're doing, what they're carrying. All these white bales are not Christmas gifts from Santa. This is drugs running on motor fast boats or submarines that we've also struck. No one's fishing on a submarine. And I have empowered them to make that call. Now, the first couple of strikes, as any leader would want, you want to own that responsibility. So I said, I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike. That was September 2nd. There's a lot of intelligence that goes into that, building that case and understanding that, a lot of people providing information. I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do. And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco-terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people. We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to do it.
I like him.
Hegseth, I love Hegseth now.
Yeah.
after reading the War on Warriors book, I was a lot more confident
his
in him.
book?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
we
was a
should
lot
do
more.
that one, Brian. I didn't even know.
It's not
not
that
that
good. Yeah, it's not that good. But as a
Okay.
warrior, as a war fighter.
Sorry, Secretary of War, Brian didn't like.
Well,
your book.
no. It's a very pointed book. It's geared at like everybody's going to read it and be like, oh yeah, taking woke out of the military, great idea. But if you're somebody that served in combat and knows the ins and outs of how things work, and not the ins and outs, but you have a general concept of how things work, it's a really good book, and it really gives you confidence in his ability to lead war fighters. And I have tremendous amount of respect for him after that. Plus the pushback, that they threw at Hegseth. They threw everything at him, from the woman that decided after having an affair with him, that decided she wanted to turn it into a rape case.
Character assassination. He got the full-blown character assassination, multiple wrap-up smears, all tied up in a bow. And I like him. I think he seems competent, seems like he has the focus of, addressing the president's agenda. The last thing that I'll say on that is we have been told, Brian, that we have to have bases all over the world, that we have to go into every nation and make sure the threat doesn't come here, right? If we don't fight them abroad, they're going to bring it here and they're going to fight us on U.S. soil. So we have to fund, the defense industrial complex to the tune of trillions of dollars. And we have to be the world's policeman, because if we're not, then they're going to come and, come to our shores. Now we're watching people with boats full of weapons of mass destruction. If you don't think that amount of fentanyl that we're seeing coming into our country through the border points, northern and southern, and on these boats, if you don't think that is a weapon of mass destruction, then you don't understand the data around fentanyl in the United States of America. It's a weapon of mass destruction. They are speeding towards our shores. And the same people that told us that we have to fund the defense of the world so it doesn't come here are saying, well, hang on a second, you have to let it come here. Don't fuck with the cartels. Don't stop the cartels. Those guys aren't terrorists. They're just, your friendly local drug dealer. I don't know, man. This is ridiculous.
We're just trying to make a living.
Abolish Congress and prosecute every single one of them.
I think it might have been you and me on Why We Vote last week when we had Colonel Towner on that said, I'm no longer calling it the drug war. I'm calling it chemical warfare.
Yeah,
it is. And I'm with that. And I've stopped using the term drugs. When these people come over now and they blow up these boats, I'm calling them chemical weapons.
They are chemical weapons.
And that was with Colonel Towner, because I remember mentioning that the cocaine, like people, if you ever watch how cocaine is made, like it's gasoline, and like the coca is like a little tiny part of it, the coca plant. Yeah. They're like, oh, cocaine's from the plants. No. It's mixed with like gasoline and like all sorts of other chemicals.
Yeah. And, setting cocaine aside, the fentanyl that is being brought into our country is not being brought in to satisfy the demand of street drugs for fentanyl. What is happening more often than not is that street drugs are being tainted. They're being, what is the word that I'm looking at? Not spiked, but like,
cut.
Yeah. They're so you have kids that are, out at a party thinking, oh, I'll try a Percocet for the first time, or I'll do some blow for the first time. Don't do drugs, kids. Drugs are bad, but kids do drugs every day, right? People try drugs every day. It's still very much a thing. Intentionally having the cartels now intentionally poison that with Chinese fentanyl and all these other things. This is a global or a multinational attack on the United States of America. They're God, I can't think of that freaking word. It's driving me nuts. Laced. Thank you.
I was thinking of cocaine, which it's cut if it's cocaine, because you cut in like baking soda and all sorts of other stuff. Laced is if it has like fentanyl. I was looking up how to make cocaine. So go ahead.
So these kids, so you have kids trying a street drug for the first time and dying. They're dead. Not because the street drug is so bad, but because foreign cartel criminal terrorists have decided to lace street drugs in the United States of America with shit that's going to kill kids on purpose, intentionally. It's not great business for the drug dealers to have all of their clients dropping dead. They're not doing that because it makes a better product or because it sells better or because it's better for business to do that. They're doing it to attack Americans, particularly American children. And I'm blow every last one of them up. I do not care. I don't care if you got a couple cartel members hanging off the boat, Rand Paul. I don't give a shit. Bomb them again.
Hell yeah. All right, before we move on to the next clip here, because we've got a couple more from this cabinet meeting that are pretty good. We've got one from another presser that we're going to cover first that has to do with Afghanistan. But let's talk about one of our sponsors, guys. If you or someone you love struggle with blood sugar and A1C, you need to hear this. It is well known that the expensive meds and the popular shots have dangerous side effects. Well, Creator's Bounty has developed the perfect alternative. It's an herbal supplement called Elohetrium. Elohetrium is a 100% natural formula that is proven to dramatically lower your blood sugar and A1C. It uses 7 healthy ingredients, no stimulants, no junk. These 7 ingredients would cost you over $150 if you bought them all separately. But here's the best part. There are no bad side effects, only good ones. We're talking sugar cravings gone, inflammation reduced, and stable energy all day with 0 crashes. Seriously, most people are getting better results than they did on the harsh meds, but without the risk. And Elohetrium is made in the USA at an FDA registered facility, fully tested, and is backed with a no questions asked 90-day money back guarantee. The friendly folks at Creator's Bounty offer fast and free shipping 5 days a week from their facility in Oklahoma. All right, let's jump into our next clip here. And this has to do with Afghanistan. And my colleague over at Gateway, Jordan Conrad's in asking the great questions right here. Will we get accountability over the 2021 Abbey Gate debacle? Maybe.
Thanks, Kingsley. Jordan Conrad from Gateway Pundit. I wanted to ask you, in May, the Secretary announced a new investigation into the Afghanistan withdrawal under Biden. In light of the recent events with one of these refugees killing a service member, is there any updates on that investigation?
I don't have any updates for you at this time, but I can tell you that the review that we're doing into the horrendous Afghanistan withdrawal under the previous administration, the Biden administration, is expected to be complete by summer of 2026. And we are committed to ensuring that this review, unlike others, is much more unredacted, that the American people are able to consume the report for themselves and see what truly happened on that fateful day and that fateful withdrawal. And we owe it to our service members to accomplish that. The review is being led by our chief Pentagon spokesman and senior advisor to the Secretary, Sean Parnell, an Afghan veteran himself. And he takes very seriously the responsibility to getting answers to the American people. So we are committed to that 100%. And in summer 2026, the public will be able to have that report.
So summer of 2026, not only are we going to get answers to Abbey Gate, which is going to tie into how was this lock and wall guy able to get into the United States and assassinate a National Guardsman and, maybe critically injure another, but we're also going to get the drone strikes on the drug boats coming into play here because Joe Biden killed 10 Afghan citizens, 7 of them children, all in an attempt to kind of save face on the Abbey Gate. We got the guys responsible for it was the talking point. And it turns out they knew that it likely wasn't them. It could have been, but it likely wasn't them. And then they attacked them knowing that there were 7 kids there. I spare me the manufactured bullshit fake outrage, Democrats. Oh, Trump's killing 2 guys hanging off the side of a boat. Joe Biden killed 7 kids. Barack Obama murdered a U.S. citizen with a drone without due process.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the outrage is manufactured. I just want side note. So proud of Jordan Conradson.
He's kicking ass.
He is kicking ass, and it's just great. It's like it's one of us. Real Americans who kind of emerged as citizen journalists who then became Pentagon reporter. Laura Loomer was in there, I believe, as well, asking questions.
I didn't
the show
just now. That's Jim Hoft right down there in the bottom.
I was
right.
wondering. Yeah, I was wondering about that when I saw his forehead.
He's the owner of Gateway. So the boss man was there. You got to look good when the boss man's there, and Jordan killed it.
Yeah, I do the Colorado show on CDM on Wednesdays today at noon Mountain, 2:00 Eastern. It'll be on, but Todd Wood, who owns CDM, was also in the Pentagon briefing room. So they really have flipped, and given a lot of those seats to new media, which is cool.
Well, so did you see the report yesterday? Well, Trump has the White House now has the media bias checker score sheet, whatever it is up there. Have you seen that?
Sorry, I was looking at the comment that Too Big for Bike put in the chat and just threw up a little bit in my mouth, so I don't know what you said.
Oh, so the White House now on the whitehouse.gov has like a media bias fact checker, like to outlay, not a fact checker, but to outlay media bias. And it's got like all the different agencies listed, like based on their credibility and all this stuff. Well, Stelter went out yesterday and was like, if they're going to keep with this rhetoric and disparaging reporters that are just trying to do their job and rating us and everything, we're just going to leave. We're not going to be there on Air Force One anymore. And we're not going to be in the White House. And it's like, bye. Thank you. That's all we have to do.
Wait, didn't Brian Stelter already leave and go do he was teaching for a while. Now he's back and whining about media and their super importance again. That's hilarious.
We don't need these people. The only people that may have more of a sense of self-importance than lawyers are mainstream media pundits that think that like their shit doesn't stink and like they can say whatever they want to say and that they're entitled to some sort of, for so long, they get all the fucking interviews. They get all the, whatever. It's our turn now. Let's see what happens when we start asking real questions to these people. When Jordan is asking, and that wasn't necessarily like a hard question there, but he's asked some really tough questions before. Brian Glenn is another one that's asked some, tough questions, the questions that we want the actual answers to. And so now it's our turn. And yes, thank you, Fix Bayonet. It was Jim Acosta, not Stelter. Stelter was bitching about the rhetoric that they were using. I tied the Acosta and the Stelter interview together.
Where's Stelter? Is he still at Harvard?
I don't know. He's like a professor, fake, whatever, get a free paycheck.
What is he? Tell us in the chat what you think Stelter is a professor of.
How not to wear your pants when you're conducting an interview and forget that you're broadcasting from a side view.
Always get him mixed up with the one. Who was the one? Tubin,
the guy that was
Lubin with Tubin. Yeah,
Lubin
that guy.
With Tubin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just.
They all sort of, they're all in the same bucket. Tubin, Stelter, who was the one who said Acosta. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. From Just the News, Biden administration created exemption for many low-level Taliban civil servants to come to the United States. The Biden-led Department of Homeland Security and State Department in June of 2022 announced that they had put together new exemptions for purportedly vetted applicants who would otherwise be blocked from the United States, including some former Taliban government workers. The policy allowed hundreds of Afghans to come to the U.S. when they could have previously been barred due to terrorism-related inadmissibility grounds, or TRIGs. Allowing hundreds of former Taliban government workers to come to the U.S. The exemptions were for Afghans who had worked as quote-unquote civil servants under the Taliban, both before 9/11 and after August of 2021, as well as for Afghans who, quote, supported U.S. military interests, end quote, such as participation in the resistance movements against the Taliban or the Soviet Army, and for Afghans who, quote, provided only certain limited material support to the Taliban or other designated terrorist organizations, okay? The Soviet Army part is the part that really concerns me right there, because the Soviet Army, the Mujahideen, the resistance against the Soviet Army was the Mujahideen, and the Mujahideen fractured after the Soviets, after that they left. Some of them went and started, they were warlords, drug lords, and some of them started their own little tribal gangs and, clans. But Al-Qaeda was a big part of the Mujahideen. Osama bin Laden wasn't in, well, I don't think he was officially in the Muj, but the Muj, that's what we call him.
In the Muj.
In the Muj. He wasn't officially in the Muj, but the head of the Muj, what was his name? He's got like a red beard. I can't think of his name, but he was Obama's mentor. He was Obama's like closest confidant and mentor. And so anyways.
Did we arm those rebels too?
Yes, we are. Oh yeah, we
always do.
Yeah,
we always do. We have some suggestions on what Brian Stelter is teaching at Harvard. EC was here, says how to look like a dildo. That's solid.
That's Mark Kelly.
Arts. Could be, yeah.
Mark Kelly.
Well, different colleges have the same class, Brian. Artsy Jones says how to shine a bald head shaped like an egg. Professor of back alley prostitutes, allegedly, says Heather Jones. Stelter is a professor of empty classrooms, according to April Ann. And Hold No Versal USA 1. I don't know if I can say. How to suck a dick without touching your lips.
Oh, geez.
I have to say it, but yeah.
For a rant, we would have said it.
Well, I said it anyway.
How about how to make millions of dollars without having a single skill whatsoever? That's my favorite. That's my
favorite. He is when remember on I don't know if you ever watched Louder with Crowder, but they had like his face in the sun in their intro video. It's just like this like
like the Teletubbies.
Yeah.
Like the Teletubbies, yeah.
But the sun was Brian Stelter's face instead of the baby. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this, I don't think we'll get through all the clips because I do actually have one more story that I want to cover. But this is Russ Vogt, however you want to pronounce it.
Russell Vogt.
Russ Vogt. This is maybe my favorite clip of the whole event. And if you stayed with Ash and I when we covered when we read Neil Gorsuch Overruled on Facebook, Badlands Book Club, on Tuesdays, shameless plug. We're starting Smedley Butler next week. We just finished Fourth Turning. So yeah, there you go.
Get your books and join us. This one's probably going to be just there's pictures in this book. So it's probably just going to be a couple of weeks that we're doing this. And then we're figuring out what our next book is going to be, but everybody should tune in Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern for Badlands Book Club. And, now's a great time to join because we're starting a new book.
So
we're
I
both
never
thrilled that Fourth Turning is over. It was a great book, but it was really long and very meaty.
I never thought in my entire life I would ever be saying this, but in line with what Russ Vogt is saying here, please, government, pass more regulation, more and more and more regulation, as long as we hang tight with Russ Vogt.
Mr. President, last time I was here, I said that the amount of dereg that we had for regulatory was 30-1. Since then, it's up to 48-1. Your goal had been 10-1, which was in excess of 6-1 in the first term. It's actually much higher than that, but I made my team redo the threshold a little bit because it sounded so unbelievable. But the amount of work that's being done with this entire team is astronomical. And another detail in that is that when we propose a rule, some of the biggest ones that you care the most about don't go into that count until they are finalized. So next year we should be even more eye-popping. One of those to talk about is the federal acquisitions regulations, which you gave us a charge 6 months ago to dramatically reduce. In 6 months, we've lowered it by 25%. 500 pages, 2,700 mandates, which is a third of the mandates. That's going to lead to savings, competition, and speed. So probably $40 billion for the agencies and savings over the course of 10 years. When we get up and running, it'll be north of $200 and $400 billion. Competition, about 45% of government bids only have one bidder. So you got no competition in that situation. That will now change, and then we're just getting faster, months, and hopefully we turn it into years, which means you all around this table can buy things that you need quickly, and that you have better vendors to come, many of them small businesses who want to participate in the federal procurement process. So making all sorts of improvements on that front is very exciting. Thank you.
Do you see now why I'm saying please pass more regulations? Please, Pat, if you're taking 48 for every one new one, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, more evidence this is a transformation program. That the second Trump administration, certainly the first half of it, is a transformation program to make, streamline, make more efficient, get rid of all this bloat and waste and fraud and abuse, and the regulatory landscape. That's, kind of the inner workings of the federal government. Right. We're gonna streamline it. We're gonna make it so that you guys in your seats can buy more stuff that you need and get, your departments humming efficiently. We need to do this broadly across the industries as well. The regulatory landscape is crushing American producers, and getting us out of that is fantastic. So well done, Secretary of Commerce. Commerce, right? It's commerce.
Commerce. Yeah. All right. So last story here before we get out of here. Love to see this story. NBC News poll in a dramatic shift. Americans no longer see four-year college degrees as worth the cost.
Yep.
If these colleges think that they're getting a free ride off the federal government because we subsidize their colleges and universities with federal loans that prey on American, teenagers and American youth, fuck you. We're coming after you. Here it is. I'd love to see this.
Yeah, we just before you read it, we just went through this, a couple years ago with Caleb when he graduated from high school and he, got into UNC Greeley and wanted to go to UNC Greeley. I, couldn't afford to pay for his college. And so he was looking at his federal student aid options. It all goes through federal and then, circles back around through state is the way. I've learned a lot about that FAFSA process during this, but they wanted to sign my kid up, my 18-year-old fresh adult, no, baggage, no burdens, no debts, just his whole life right ahead of him to go to UNC Greeley. Now, what Greeley is known for us here in the Front Range is that when it's about to snow, we say it smells like Greeley because it smells like cow shit, because Greeley is just full of cows and the whole town smells like poop. No offense to people that live there, but it's true. They wanted to sign him up for $150,000 worth of loans right as he's 18 years old to get an education. That is predatory. And I said no, and my husband said no, and Caleb was mad at us for a little bit. Now I think he's, glad that he didn't go that route. But it is what they do to kids coming out of high school to convince them that this is like the greatest thing, that you're going to be a failure in life if you don't sign yourself up to be a debt slave for the next 30 freaking years.
That's exactly what it is. Debt slaves. They want to create them. Almost 2/3 of registered voters now say that a four-year college degree is not worth the cost. 33% agree a four-year college degree is worth the cost because people have a better chance to get a good job and earn more money over their lifetime. But 63% say it's not worth the cost because they graduate without specific job skills and with a large amount of debt to pay off. Now, look at the numbers historically here. In June of 2023, 53% said that it was worth the cost. 40% said not worth it. April 2017, it was almost 50-50 at 49-47. October 2025, it's 33-63. Now, it does say here the shift comes against the backdrop of several major trends shaping the job market and the education world, exploding college tuition prices to rapid changes in the modern economy, which seem once again poised for radical transformation alongside advances in AI. The average inflation-adjusted cost of a public four-year college tuition for in-state students has doubled since 1995. Tuition in private four-year colleges is up 75% over the same period. Now, I went to private university when I got out of the military, but only because the GI Bill covered it. I couldn't afford that. It was $150,000 for a four-year degree, and that's just tuition for somebody in state to go to that school. And I was like, I can't afford that. But
how much did you say?
$150,000.
Yeah. It's insanity.
Yeah.
And when you consider that the state schools get all sorts of benefits for being state schools, for making school, and some states are better at this, right? Like there's, I think, Hope Scholarship in Georgia and other things that are, there's programs around the nation that states have put in place, little incubators, right? That's the model that we have in this nation, is that our states are incubators of programs of freedoms and all of those kinds of things. But when you consider that the universities, the states, specifically state universities, get all sorts of benefits federally and at the state level for being state universities and making college accessible to the kids in those states. And then they're turning around and charging those kids $150,000, putting those kids $150,000 in debt to attend the state schools that in theory should be largely subsidized because of all of the subsidies that they're getting. But no, that's, I would theorize, and I don't know for sure, but I would theorize that a bunch of those benefits are actually, they're going to foreign students.
Yeah. When you break it down, the trust in college, or the worthiness of college, historically, Republicans had the smallest drop, or the largest drop. 33% of Republicans from 2013 to 2025 have kind of shift the litmus on this and are now thinking that it's not worth the cost, as opposed to 55% in 2013. It's now 22%. Independents actually went up in 2017 from 43% say it's worth it to 54% saying it's worth it, and then took a sharp drop down 22 points to 32% in 2025. And Democrats were the biggest supporters of college in 2013 and are still the biggest supporters of college in 2025, because they realize that those are indoctrination camps for communist Marxist retards.
Yep.
Here's the other thing that I thought was interesting. Check this out. Remarkably, less than half of voters with college degrees see those degrees as worth the cost. Just 46%. Compared to 63% in 2013. Those without a college degree were split about the question in 2013, but now 71% of them say a 4-year degree is not worth the cost, while 26% say it is. So imagine that almost less than half of the people now are saying, I regret getting my degree, and 71% of people are saying, I don't regret not getting my degree.
Yeah.
Think about it. Think about it.
Well, because it's not worth it any longer. And when you consider it's not just that it's gotten more expensive, it's that the quality of the 4-year education has gotten less valuable. It's full of woke nonsense and social justice garbage. And, engineers and doctors and lawyers that require their degree and certification, and a lot of that education, the more STEM type of education, those things may be worth it, but for the broad population who's not going to become doctors and lawyers, it is a credential that is way overvalued.
Yep. All right, jumping into rants here. Villas34 says, I'm in Dallas County and cautiously excited about the ballot hand counts. Did you ever look into why Hyder Garcia resigned and what he's doing now? He is the vice president of some executive office at Hart InterCivic.
Yeah.
Is it? Hart InterCivic. No, I don't know why he resigned. I know he went from Tarrant County to the EAC as a senior advisor, and then to Dallas County. I don't know why, but you can email me if you do know why.
He was interacting with my tweets when I was doing the Mike Lindell trial. The Eric Coomer, Mike Lindell trial was the only time I've ever interacted with Hyder Garcia. He was interacting with the threaded tweets on that.
He probably doesn't like me very much.
Well, back at you, Hyder.
I was about to say. Mr. Mega USA says President Trump says all truck drivers need to be able to speak and read English. I believe all drivers and anyone coming into our country needs to be able to speak and read English. I agree.
I don't know that we can put a test on people coming into our country can't come in unless they can read and speak English, but they certainly shouldn't be able to get a CDL. They shouldn't be able to serve in office. They shouldn't be able to, have special benefits because they don't speak English, which is the way it is now.
It could be propaganda or exaggeration, but I remember my Norwegian grandmother telling me when they came over here, they had to through Ellis Island, they had to learn English before they were given citizenship. Again, this could be propaganda, could be whatever, but
I mean, if there's precedent, I'm fine with it. That felt like a little bit, and I'm, probably the most xenophobic among us, but that felt like a bridge too far for even me. But if there's precedent, let's go.
Yeah. All right. Missy Brash says, "Hey, Giuseppe is Sicilian." I know. We were just kidding.
Several folks in the chat corrected you on that. Shout out to the folks in the chat. Missy, appreciate you.
See, when we go through Badlands Book Club, I just ignore when Ash says a word incorrectly because it's just not worth it.
The hell you do.
I did correct her yesterday because she got the one word wrong twice. Empathic. She kept saying empathetic, which are two totally different meanings. So I had to go with it. It's not like she was saying empathic wrong. She was saying a completely different word.
I was saying the wrong word. And I appreciate that. And I thanked you for it. Did I not?
But I'm not going to correct you on pronunciations. So there.
Sure. Yeah. Brian has to bring up stuff from yesterday because he can't point to this show. So it's fine. It's fine.
People who don't know, I listen to the
my favorite thing is that people think we actually hate each other.
I know.
I'm leaning into it.
Ash, that's what I was saying. Like, I listened to the meeting yesterday and I was like, yeah, it's probably a good idea that people understand that me and Ash do not hate each other in any way, shape, or form.
Or do we?
Yeah, maybe we do secretly. She could actually legitimately hate me. Miss Fishy 4 says Severance is unreal good. Helly actress won the Emmy.
Oh, well, that's a bit of a spoiler for me because I'm only on episode 3. So,
how
many seasons are there?
3.
Okay, nice.
No, 2. How many seasons of Severance? 2.
Blackhead Destroyer says, Ash, I heard your state of Colorado has cheaper gas prices of $1.80 to $2. Is this true? The last time I bought gas, which was maybe 2-3 days ago, it was $2.79. So that's still way cheaper than it was for us, but it's not down below $2 yet.
That's up there. Peyton Pooh, debt-free at age 50, self-employed by age 20. Trade school should lead the charge against education. I know more than most people with a degree because I educated myself. I mean, and T-Dub 007 is now a monthly supporter. Thank you so much. Great way to support us. Peyton Pooh, as far as the, I agree with you 100%. I have a college degree. I did not want a college degree, nor did I need one. The GI Bill paid me to go to school. So I was like, why not? In case I ever need it. Never used it, never needed it. I've always owned my own business since I was 18 years old. My dad does not have a degree. He went to college, University of Florida, did not finish, has a very successful business. Christy's dad did not go to college, has a very successful business. Her mom did not go to college. Actually, I think her mom did. The only person directly close to me that went to college was my mom, and she's a nurse practitioner, and she did good for herself. Don't get me wrong, but still in debt. My stepdad's 82 years old and still paying off debt, but he went to pharmaceutical school in his 40s. So
yeah, a big part of the problem is that you need, because of the way society is structured, right? You need the credential to do a whole bunch of things that you don't actually need the credential for. And so you need to have the college degree to get, whatever corporate job, but you're not actually using it. You're not, but you need to have it. Because, if you don't have it, then you're just some degenerate that didn't go to college. And why would we hire you, et cetera, et cetera. That's the kind of social influence of academia that has been devastating on our society, in my opinion. Before we get out of here, we should talk about soft disclosure.
That's how we get out of here.
No, you're just going to play the thing at the end. I want to actually talk about soft disclosure because it is Christmas season. And if you're watching Alpha's Make Sandwiches, then it's all Christmas all the time. In my house, it's all Christmas all the time. No, you guys put up your Christmas tree last night. And if you're putting up your Christmas tree, you should be putting soft disclosure under it because they make great gifts. This deodorant lasts at least 2 months. Everybody keeps saying 2 months, but I've had mine longer than 2 months and it's still going. And I think that's freaking amazing. Beard oil and lotions, new scents coming out, all kinds of things. Of course, my favorite product, which I am the co-founder of, is the lip balm. I'm a big fan of the lip balm. It's got a real good starting. It's super good. Yep. And everybody should head over to softdisclosure.com, use promo code Badlands, and get the stocking stuffers and gifts for under the tree. Absolutely fantastic. American made, small batch, right here in Colorado in the Wet Mountain Valley, and put your money where your morals are. Buy American made and hand poured, hand patched, and with alpacas looking on as your
Careful with the alpacas looking on thing.
Yeah,
Some
well,
voyeurism.
yeah, they're looking on at the body care products and thinking, oh man, I want to slather that soft disclosure after I get sheared for the wool that's coming off of the farm. I want to slather that on their freshly sheared. I don't know where I'm going with this, but softdisclosure.com, promo code Badlands.
John's gonna start yelling at me because I'm now 6 minutes over, and he's probably like, I gotta prep Daily Herald, and then he'll blame the show, and then he'll blame the show on me. So
just blame me. Sorry, John.
We're out of here. Stay tuned for Daily Herald coming up at 1, and Gordon's starting right now on Breaking History. So jump over to Gordon, check him out as well. Ash, thanks as always for joining me, and I will see you guys later.
They say confidence starts with a smooth skin. And baby, Soft Disclosure Lotion delivers.
I swear by this stuff. Like, I kid you guys not. This is the first lotion I've ever had in my entire life that, like, I don't get ashy after I put it on any part of my body. Like, my hands are always dry, and my hands have not gotten ashy without, like, rinsing them through water and washing them with soap since I started putting Soft Disclosure on. Like, it is Black Man approved. I kid you not.
Black Man approved. You heard him. And let's be real. If it can handle his hands, it can handle anything.
Feet are like, they get so dry, like the heels of them, it'll just kind of like flake off. Like, but with Soft Disclosure, once you put it on, like it starts to absorb it.
Yeah, he went there. Don't worry, we won't show you his feet, but trust us, they're smoother too. Soft Disclosure Lotion is made with aloe, goat's milk, honey, and our exclusive oil blend that actually restores your skin barrier. Visit softdisclosure.com, use code BADLANDS, and get 15% off.